kind of hoping I was going to drag in more people, but I wasn't being as obvious as I should have. But that's okay.
Very decent amount. Thank you guys for coming.
Indeed. No, yeah, we totally appreciate all of you guys showing up, and it's just going to be funnier this way because I get to make fun of every single person in here, and then we get to all make fun of every single anime character there is that happens to be brown. And we can appreciate some of them, but either way, this is going to be mostly discussion because we don't have the hookups for the TV.
We've got my laptop and my few little pictures that I have.
Yeah.
So,
I got a VGA cable.
You do? Like you have it here?
In the hotel room.
Do you want
I'm busy taping y'all though.
Okay, well, it's fine. Well, then it doesn't matter. It'll be okay. So.
I mean, I guess we could call tech, but if you don't.
It's fine.
Okay, cool.
You could go.
We all go to school. We know what happens to huddle together.
Besides, the majority of us know probably of the characters that we're going to be really talking about some, and then we're just going to have a general discussion. So, so how do you want to start this out?
I guess we can kind of just go over slight history, I suppose, so I can get my Cyborg 009 part out of the way.
Okay, cool.
So, to start things off, I want to say one thing about the Japanese, and don't get offended. Those of you who are ultra weeaboos and are Nippon is the best. But one of the things about Japanese culture was they didn't interact with the rest of the world until around the 1500s. So they are, while not technically xenophobic, they still have the cultural bias that they're the greatest. Kind of like how we Americans are yeah, America's a #1, Duke of New York. So, but the thing is with the Japanese, though, is the first people that they came in contact with who weren't Asian and not Russians who they were fighting with were, the English. So, and what's one of the things that, American culture, American/Anglo-American culture is known for?
Slavery. Racism.
Both of those, yeah. Both slavery and racism. So, while the Japanese do kind of have their slightly xenophobic racist tendencies, they don't technically mean it. They just kind of think that that's how the world is.
Besides, they just hate all foreigners. And clearly, if you're brown, you're a foreigner.
Yeah. We'll touch on that with some... Even more especially, in fact, I'm going to talk about that when I get to Cyborg 009. But because of the fact that they kind of ran into as equally xenophobic Anglo-Saxon people as they were, the depictions that they were given of other races were what you would think of being the crazy stereotypes. So to them, there were no black people in Japan, so when they thought of a black person, they thought of, the Jim Crow, dancing around in a field, eating chicken and watermelon. They didn't know. They didn't know. So, but now, in 2003-ish, Tokyo issued a earthquake awareness pamphlet, and it had a bunch of people, flailing around going, earthquake. And one of them was a black person, but he was drawn with the big red lips and the dot and the black skin and the beady eyes. And when an African American social league found out about it and they told the Japanese that it was offensive, they flipped out, recalled all of the manuals, and redid it with a normal brown skinned person going on the cover. So It's not that the Japanese are just insanely, racist and they're those dirty Negroes. It's when they hear of, African Americans or just, anybody in particular, they're going to, go off of what the media basis is and how are we typically portrayed in the media. It's either we're in the ghetto singing or we're playing sports. So those are the two depictions that you're normally going to run into.
So, you don't shuck and jive?
No, not at all. So, but interestingly enough, do you guys know who Osamu Tezuka is? Osamu Tezuka is essentially, he's referred to as the god of manga. He's the man who created Astro Boy and just essentially the original Golden Age, manga characters. Essentially, without him, manga would be exactly the same as our Sunday newspaper strips. It would be oh, that's cute and quaint, but who cares? He was the one who could prove that you could actually tell stories with it. And in his manga, white people are usually depicted as like blackface, red lips, and stuff. Once again, did not mean it. In fact, several times over his lifetime, he talked about like the cruelty of like inhumanity and stuff like that. How he criticized America when he tried to bring Astro Boy over because they didn't. One of the producers at CBS didn't like it because Astro was fighting another robot and it looked too much like a human killing another human, and it was like, you're showing Vietnam on TV every day, so why is this a problem? But, and then one of his students, Shotaro Shinomori, who you guys know, but you don't know. How many of you guys watched Power Rangers as a kid? Power Rangers is, if you didn't know, and come to like the Toku panel later on at the convention for like more of a history on this.
Hey, Toku sucks.
But Power Rangers is an adaptation of a series called Super Sentai, which was made by Shotaro Shinomori. He also made Kikaider, if you guys remember watching that on Adult Swim. If you guys remember Masked Rider, if you watched Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, that is also a series that he did. But a series that he did before all of those was Cyborg 009. Essentially, Cyborg 009 is the first like Sentai team ever, where people wearing the same uniform and fighting monsters on a weekly basis. But the thing about Cyborg 009 was, and let me pull a...
I should have just called Tech and asked them to bring me a cable.